All right, you might have seen the top 30 running backs and also the top 30 wide receiver rankings, but now we're bringing you the top 50 PPR rankings coming into the 2023 season.
Why are we going this deep?
This is
Top
five.
50, that's insane.
That's 5+ rounds or 5 rounds for you guys that we're gonna break it down. Overall rankings going through pick 101 to like the fifth round essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get straight into it. Let's not waste any more time. Take us through, it looks like the 101 to the 106 here.
Yeah, and I just think like it's important to say that this will be different to ADP, right? This is not how all your drafts are going to go. This is how my rankings are established at this moment, okay?
Exactly.
I understand some players are going to be higher than what you're seeing going in drafts or lower than what you're seeing going in drafts, but probably not here in the first round. No need to overthink it. Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey. For me, we talked about it on the wide receiver video, but Tyreek Hill is my wide receiver 3. If you have Jamar Chase there, I'm not going to fight you over it. That's completely fine. And then I think at some point, you have to recognize the positional value that Travis Kelce brings you. Yes, at some point, he will slow down. People said that last year when he was 33. He looks extremely healthy. The connection is unbelievable. So at some point, you have to rationalize what that positional value is for you. In a tight end premium league, you could argue he's the 101. And then Cooper Kupp would be the last guy in this 101 to the 106 for me here.
Yeah, look, makes sense. I think everyone here is pretty consensus with the community. I do have Cooper Kupp over Travis Kelce, but however way you want to do it. If you're in the tight end premium, like Zach said, you can move Travis Kelce all the way up to the 101 depending on the premium. No point of wasting any more time there. Take us through the 107 to the 112 here.
Okay, so yeah, late first round pick. So if you've got the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 spot, you're thinking, what do I do with this first pick? I think there's a lot of options with running backs and wide receivers.
Yeah.
That's the position you should be looking at. No tight end after Travis Kelce should go in the first, and no quarterback in a one quarterback league should reach the first round. No. Do not do it. Trust me, it's not worth it. But this is where I would have Austin Eckler, who you could actually justify being in the top 6. Bijan Robinson, the fantastic first-round rookie. We talked about this on the running back video, but look at the history of guys who have been given the draft capital that Bijan has, and keep in mind this is a generational prospect. That is a great bet to make with Bijan Robinson. Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and I know it's controversial, but give me Tony Pollard here and Saquon Barkley. There is probably, Badake, I'll be honest with you, there's probably 6 more players I could have justified being drafted in the first round from the 107 to the 112. So I don't want people to be so upset that like a certain player didn't make it in the late first compared to the early second of the tiers, because they're all worthy of it, honestly.
Yeah, look, obviously the biggest one here that I think a lot of people would say, well, Tony Pollard in the first, Tony Pollard at the 111. And like Zach was kind of alluded to, and you can put any other player there, and I'm pretty sure you can allude to any of these wide receivers that Zach is going to be talking about, any of these running backs that Zach is going to be talking about coming in to the early second. I think it just depends on, do you think he's going to be there? Do you have the 110? Do you think Tony Pollard is even going to come back to you the way maybe the fantasy community is seeing it? Maybe you have to take him there at the 111, 19, however the case may be. Yeah. I completely understand. Let's get to the turn here. So at the 201.
Sorry, I'll just say, because I think like you're making a great point there. Just because I have Tony Pollard ranked as a first round pick doesn't mean I feel the need to draft him in the first round. I know I can get Tony Pollard in the second round.
100%.
There's a difference between drafts where I would draft someone and their rankings, right? I think Tony Pollard's going to be a value. And anyone out there who is concerned about it, keep in mind, he was the RB8 last year, and Zeke had 254 touches. Zeke's gone. Rico Dowdle is the number 2. Pollard's going to eat in a high explosive offense. Don't overthink it. This could be his first Austin Eckler era year.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. So it is really exciting to see what can happen here. Take us to the turn here, brother.
Okay, just before we get into the turn, keep in mind all these players in my early second, I think they're worthy of being in the late first. I really do. So don't hate me just because it's a technicality.
Don't hate me because you hate me.
But Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson, I think he's going to be great with Aaron Rodgers. I remember you and I were in a home league, Badake, a Superflex home league.
Oh, man.
I drafted Garrett Wilson, and people said, "Oh, that's pretty early."
Yeah. They're like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Bro, you don't know."
You wait and see. He's going to be great. Amon-Ra St. Brown. This is where I would have Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, welcome back to Vegas and
go.
welcome back to first round contention, early second round contention. Jalen Waddle, which might be a surprise for people, and A.J. Brown. We talked about Jalen Waddle a lot on the wide receiver rankings video.
Yeah.
But I think people are massively disrespecting him. People say, how can you have him ranked top 10 in your rankings over guys like Davante Adams? You know, it's, well, hey, guess what? Jalen Waddle was a wide receiver 8 last year. So he's already done it. It can only get better. So, yeah, that's, again, all these guys I think are worthy of being a first round pick, depending on how you see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, however order you want to do it, however order you want to draft these guys, I believe in each and every one of them, especially someone like a Nick Chubb. I think getting him there at the 203, I think is phenomenal value at the turn there. Maybe you get Tony Pollard and Nick Chubb. Maybe you get a Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb, CeeDee Lamb and Nick Chubb. That is such a good start here for your fantasy team, especially with the opportunities of him maybe even getting more work in the air going into 2023 with Deshaun Watson. So I love this start here in the early second round here at the turn.
And can I just say, by the way, because I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think it adds value for people who are drafting. I think that's a really smart start because all these strategy videos out there, which are super helpful and super necessary, great research into them. But the strategy, double hero RB or heavy wide receivers only, like at some point, those strategies aren't helpful when you have to know how your league is going to draft for them to be effective, right?
Oh, 100%.
But what I wanted to say is, you know, if you were to start like Diggs, Chubb, Lamb, Jacobs, for example, if you get a running back and a wide receiver in those first 2 picks, it gives you flexibility moving forward, right? Because
100%.
if you go double RB in the 3rd round, if there's not a wide receiver that you like, you're going to feel it necessary to draft one. So to get a running back and a wide receiver kind of opens up flexibility for what the best player on the board is in the 3rd round, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. I love the insight there. Take us through this late second round as we're approaching it.
Yeah, so late second round, again, these are very good players. They're all top 24. Davante Adams, who I'm still all in on. I think he's going to be an incredible pick this year. I mean, there will be teams who start Bijan Robinson and Davante Adams. That's absolutely ridiculous.
100%.
Derrick Henry, who, you know, I guess let's run it till the wheels fall off. I'm not as high as others, but I still think he's going to get a ton of work, and volume is king at the end of the day. This is where I would take Marky Mark. You know, I was really thinking about it like, okay, in your ranking, Zach, forget what ADP is. ADP says he's a 3rd round pick. Do you think he's worth a 2nd? Yes, I do
100%.
think he is worth a 2nd round pick. Look at his splits with Lamar versus without. Keep in mind that he played a good portion of the year without Lamar Jackson. And keep in mind, this is the only tight end in the last 7 years who has dethroned Travis Kelce. And the biggest news is there's an offensive coordinator change. This team is probably going to throw the ball more than they ever have in the Lamar Jackson era. And their number 1 receiver is still Mark Andrews. So don't overthink it. I think the positional value again. Then I would go Calvin Ridley, Chris Olave, and the first quarterback. At some point, you just have to say he's worth taking here. That's Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying that I necessarily would draft him there because I don't love my builds when I go quarterback that early, but I have to at least put some respect on his name. He's going to get you about 30 points a game, you know? So you can't overthink it too much with a guy like Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, look, makes sense here. I have Derrick Henry obviously a little bit higher, which I get it. You know, I mean, I'm a massive believer in Derrick Henry. You got kind of what Zach alluded to, take him to the wheels fall off. So that makes sense. I just want to bring up the splits that you kind of mentioned with and without Mark Andrews, with and without Lamar Jackson. With Lamar Jackson, averaging
for Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews, averaging over 14 fantasy points per game. Without Lamar Jackson, 9 fantasy points per game, which is a significant difference here. And it's
so 14 with, 9 without.
9 without, exactly. So it makes a lot of sense when Lamar is healthy. Mark Andrews is easily a second round pick coming into the 2023 season.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Any other players you want to talk about in this second round here?
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, look, Calvin Ridley. I'm not saying
we've talked about a lot.
We talked about a lot. Patrick Mahomes makes sense. You know, he goes there in that round. So I think it's pretty.
I don't think either of us would draft Patrick Mahomes in the 2nd, but that's probably where he deserves to be.
A lot of people would draft him. You know, in your home leagues. With us, we don't like to take quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds, or we don't like to take quarterbacks early whatsoever. I think the earliest we'll take a quarterback will, I would say, 5th round, maybe be Justin Fields,
Yeah.
maybe Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert in the 5th round, whatever the case may be. So
Yeah.
we don't like getting quarterbacks early, but each to their own. That makes sense. Take us through the 3rd round now at the turn.
All right, so I'll go through the 3rd round, but just want to let you guys know we will be having weekly rankings over on the Flock Fantasy website. So not only do you get updating rankings from myself and Badake, but you get weekly rankings that are updated from all of us, and you get expert consensus rankings as well. Go ahead and use our code LAND when signing up to the Flock Fantasy website. If you choose a Mother Flocker tier, not only do you get the articles, the bonus videos, the databases, but you also unlock the Fantasy Hotline, which is a direct DM to us for advice. So if you want an advantage on your league mates, go ahead, sign up, get 30% off with our code, and then DM us so we can get all your perks. But my 3rd round starts with Amari Cooper, then a couple wide receivers off the board, T. Higgins, Devonta Smith, Keenan Allen. Really love this tier of wide receiver. Some of these guys can be the 3rd player on your team. Most of them will be the 3rd player on your team, maybe the 2nd wide receiver that you draft. I think you're setting yourself up really, really well if you do that. Then we've got Joe Mixon, who, again, this is the difference between ADP and my rankings. Joe Mixon is higher in my rankings than what ADP will show, and Travis Etienne to finish off this this tier here.
Yeah, look, everyone here makes sense. I don't think we need to kind of linger on this any longer. I love each and every one of these players coming into this round. I love Joe Mixon as well, getting him maybe as your RB2 in this build. Yeah. Maybe you got a Tyreek Hill, and then you somehow got Tyreek Hill, and then a Mark Andrews, then a Joe Mixon. That could be really nice there.
You know what's crazy about Joe is last year he had a career high 75 targets. Samaje Perine had 51, and Samaje is gone.
GG's.
Can Chris Evans fill that role, or will Joe Mixon be a 3-down running back? Either way, he's on an explosive offense. I just don't think we should really overthink Joe Mixon. RB10 last year on what I would say is a down year for him too.
Yeah, completely agree here. All right, take us to the second half of the 3rd round.
Okay, so the late 3rd, Travis Etienne or Jahmyr Gibbs. Again, this is a technicality. They're back-to-back. You can go either way.
Yep.
In a full PPR, if you want to go Gibbs, be my guest. These are PPR rankings. I would then have Najee Harris here. Jonathan Taylor. This is where I would start to take the chance on Jonathan Taylor. So I guess this is, late 3rd round.
Late 3rd round, yeah.
Is where it starts to become a reality for me. DK Metcalf, and then a couple quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. Again, have to give them the respect. Any quarterback that's going to average over about, 23 points per game, like the Mahomes, Allens, Hurts of the world, you got to put some respect on their name.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes complete sense. Josh Allen QB2 this past year, Jalen Hurts QB3 this past year. We don't like to take quarterbacks early, but this is the reason why, we see so many people in the fantasy community, in your home leagues, wherever, taking quarterbacks this early in the 3rd round. I think we can get significant value, like a Geno, who probably went undrafted this past year, finished QB5. That's an example of trying to find a value at quarterback in your redraft leagues in the late rounds coming in, and that's the main reason we don't take those quarterbacks early.
Can we play a little game here real quick?
Sure.
Because I've been thinking about it for quite some time. We keep hearing Miami and Buffalo for Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Miami, Buffalo. Let's just say he goes to Miami. Okay, let's say Jonathan Taylor is traded to Miami by the time this video releases. Where would you put him? Because I know where I would put him.
Jonathan Taylor, Miami.
Miami, M-I-M-I-A.
M-I-M-I-A. Oh, man, that is... I think I would take him at I would say middle of the 2nd. So I would say right before Devontae Adams.
Yeah. That's exactly where I am.
That's where
right behind Josh Jacobs. I think I might take him over Waddle and AJ Brown at that point. But yeah, early 2nd, late 2nd, somewhere in between there. You could say mid-2nd. So who knows if that update happens by the time people are watching this video.
That would be crazy. So makes absolute sense here. All right. Excuse me. All right. Going through all 3 rounds there. Take us to the turn. Going into the 4th round.
Yeah, I can't believe we're going top 50.
Here we go.
I really hope this video is helpful for people who are in drafts or want to understand the values that we see. Hey, if you see a player that I'm higher on than ADP, consider that what I would say is a value if you want to go make trades and you've already done your drafts. But yeah, early fourth, again, Lamar Jackson. You know, it's I don't think you can overdraft Lamar this year. I really don't. You could justify him in the third. This is the best weaponry that he's ever had in his career, and an offensive coordinator who wants to see him break personal records for passing. Right? Lamar is definitely one of those quarterbacks who has a possibility of being the number one quarterback in fantasy. This is where it starts to get weird. Again, someone who I would consider a value in drafts, Alexander Madison. Now, do I need to draft him in the fourth round? No, I typically can get him in the fifth or even sixth rounds, depending on what platform I'm on, what the ADP looks like, and who I'm drafting with. However, I do believe that he is a value right now in drafts. I think he's the guy, and he looks really good in my projection model. James Conner, another my guy, who is going to get so much work. Like, the only way he's not a top 20 running back is if he
gets injured.
That's literally the only way. And even last year, he got injured, came back at the right time, and won people leagues. He was RB3 in points per game without Kyler Murray last year. So I just think he's a value this year. Absolutely think he's a value. Aaron Jones, I would have here. Then I would have Ramondre Stevenson, and wouldn't you know it, Chris Godwin makes my 406.
Yeah, look, all makes sense here. One thing about Lamar Jackson, I think a lot of people keep forgetting, before he got injured, weeks 1 to 12, a top 5 quarterback before his injury, and I think that is easily can continue coming in to the 2023 season. Like Zach said, the best weapons that he has around him in his whole career. J.K. Dobbins is coming back, a different offensive coordinator that's going to open up the passing game. I love it here. Everyone here makes sense. Outside for me of Chris Godwin, you guys can go watch that wide receiver video that we released. We don't have to linger too much on that. If you want to know a little bit more, have a little bit more in-depth conversation about Chris Godwin, why I don't like him, go check that video out, the wide receiver, top 30 wide receiver rankings.
Hey, what if Baker Mayfield's this year Geno Smith?
Oh my gosh, we said that every single year.
You're all gonna regret passing on Godwin, and I'm gonna be winning leagues.
Baker couldn't do it with David Njoku, Jarvis Landry, OBJ, Nick Chubb. He
probably isn't.
Oh man,
he probably isn't. But I still think Godwin is a safe play. Like, he's just a safe pick. So many of the picks that you're gonna take around there with running backs could get injured, right? Or they could be on teams that aren't very good offenses. At least you get the wide receiver in a PPR format who's going to get so much targets. Anyway, but who knows?
No, makes sense. All right, take us through the last end of this tier, or not tier, late fourth round.
Yeah, so in the late fourth round, this is where I would start taking Tyler Lockett. If you get Tyler Lockett in the fourth round, I've gotten him in the fifth round in leagues that I've done, and he's been my fourth wide receiver. I've started leagues where I've gone one running back at the top, and then 4 wide receivers in a row. To get Lockett and know that he's just in your flex, it feels like a cheat code. It really feels like a cheat code.
Every single year, yeah.
Like, Tyler Lockett and James Conner are the definition of never getting the respect that they're deserved. Miles Sanders would be next for me. I think he's going to be fantastic in that offense. Going to see so much work, not only on the ground, but also through the air. Breece Hall. When is it worth taking Breece Hall? Not only with Dalvin Cook arriving, but we have to worry about recovering from an ACL. Fourth round's the first time I'm even considering it. But I don't think I'll have him on many teams. Terry McLaurin, same situation. You have to ask yourself, when is the risk versus the reward going to be worth it for you? And then the first rookie wide receiver for me, Jordan Addison here. Again, not where I have to draft him. There's not a single league I'll be in this year where I'm drafting him in the fourth round.
No.
I'm getting him in the sixth. But my rankings, where I believe he will finish, what his value will be ultimately in fantasy this year, I believe he'll be worthy of a fourth round pick. Last year I said Chris Olave would lead the rookie wide receivers in production. Ended up being Garrett Wilson, but not by much. And on a per game basis, Olave led a lot of categories. This year, that's been Jordan Addison for me all offseason. And now Chris Olave is a second round pick. Garrett Wilson is a early second, late first round pick. I wouldn't be surprised if Jordan Addison is a third round pick this time next year. Would not surprise me whatsoever.
Oh, yeah.
And then to finish this tier, I've got Mike Williams. I've talked in previous videos how excited I am for the Chargers offense. You bring over Kellen Moore, He was already pass-centric in Dallas. Now you join a team that was already top 3 in passing attempts per game last year.
Oh, boy.
The defense is consistently underperforming. You have a quarterback in Justin Herbert who's on the rise. You just signed a big year contract to, and you draft a first-round wide receiver. Yes, all indications point towards them, again, being a top 3 team in passing attempts. I have them projected to be the number 1 team in passing attempts per game, which means that it's a huge pie for everyone to eat in Los Angeles for these Chargers. So I like Mike Williams this year. I don't think he's going to win leagues, but he's going to be a great wide receiver 2 or 3 for people.
Yeah. Look, anything can happen there with Mike Williams. Just to give you guys some context, in a real draft that Zach and I did with our Alpha League, shout out to the Alpha League, Breece Hall went at the 4-1, okay? Zach's saying that he's not taking him at the end of the 4th, and he went in the early first round here. Tyler Lockett here went at the 5-10. Zach's here saying that he can take him a whole round earlier. Well, you don't have to take him a whole round earlier, but just the rankings. Jordan Addison as well went.
That's going to be a big one
at the 7-2.
Yep.
That's where you can draft some of these guys around 2, even 3 rounds later, depending on your league. And a lot of people don't like to lean on rookie wide receivers, especially that are sitting behind Justin Jefferson like a Jordan Addison. So keep that in mind. Breece Hall with Dalvin Cook coming in as well. So all depends on how your league is drafting.
Where did Alexander Madison go in that draft?
Alexander Madison, he went at the 5-12.
Okay, so almost 2 rounds difference. I mean, and you can get Madison easily in the 5th round. You don't have to take him 4th.
So many people went significantly later. I mean, James Conner, even in the early 4th for you, he went at the 6-1. Yeah. Right? I mean, that's kind of the thought process Zach is kind of alluding to here. Even though it's saying that, he's saying you should take here. That's his draft rankings, his overall 50. Doesn't mean you have to draft him there because of where your league mates are going to be drafting.
Yeah, and it's all based on projections as well, guys. So like, if you have questions, why is this player higher? I can tell you how I'm projecting, the history of those teams, or what sort of context is included. Because ADP, that's never how rankings finish preseason ADP. It's not the same. But yeah.
Makes sense. All right, well, let's finish it out here. 5th round, the last 5-6 players in this top 50 for you guys, trying to get you so much content as possible before your drafts. Take us through it.
I wanted to put 20 players here.
It's difficult.
I could only put 6. I wanted to put 20. I decided to focus on the wide receivers I really like in the 5th round.
Okay.
You could put 6 running backs here, but I decided to put 5 wide receivers that I really like in the 5th round. DeAndre Hopkins, Deebo Samuel, who I don't think will be available in the 5th round, but this is where I would draft him. Jahan Dotson, who absolutely will be available in the 5th round, and you should feel confident in drafting him. Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver 15 last year, was very good with Brock Purdy. Drake London,
Drizzy,
and then George Pickens, who I am very excited for. I think the breakout's on for George Pickens. I haven't even given him more target share than his teammate Deontay Johnson, but I believe in my projections that he will be more efficient with the opportunities that he's given. I think he can do more with 100 targets than what Deontay can do with 100 targets. So that's what it looks like for me. But of course, keep in mind, I could have fit 20 players into the 5th round, genuinely.
Yeah, so many players, that we can talk about. You can think of Alvin Kamara. You can think of Kenneth Walker, who has been mentioned here. Exactly. J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, Damian Pierce. You can think
not for me, but yes. Not Damian Pierce for me, but
not Damian Pierce. Exactly. But there's so many other wide receivers. We can even talk tight ends depending on how early you guys want to talk tight ends. Yeah. We've seen so many: Kyle Pitts, George Kittle, T.J. Hawkinson, all go in the 5th. Darren Waller going in the 5th round. We've seen in the past. So it just really depends on how your league.
Justin Fields, Justin Herbert could go here.
Look, so many people. We try to give you as much information as possible. Any last things, concerns, words, comments you would like to say before we end the video?
The only thing I ask for people who watch our rankings videos is, again, to just keep an open mind. Because look at every year of fantasy's ever happened. ADP never lines up with how fantasy finishes. Never. It never does.
Yeah.
So I actually personally for myself, I enjoy watching people who have a different opinion because I don't need a echo chamber. I don't need to hear the same opinions I already have. I know some people will comment on our videos and they're like, for this one, they'll probably say, I turned it off when I saw Alexander Madison over Ramon Verstappen. You know, it's like, don't you want to hear different opinions? Don't you want to, you know, gain as many different points of view as you can? So that's the only thing I ask is just keep an open mind. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome, guys. So, well, comment down below. If you have any questions for Zach about his rankings, we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. And like, comment, subscribe. We've trying to give you so much content as possible. We got you running backs, top 30 running backs, top 30 wide receivers, and top 50 PPR rankings here for you guys. And I hope you guys enjoyed all the content effort we put in. And good luck. I mean, good luck in your drafts. Good luck in week 1. Crazy that we're saying this. Good luck in week 1. Coming here very soon.
And we will have ranking videos out each week. So make sure you subscribe for those. Trade for, trade aways, must starts. It's going to be a good year.
All right, guys. All love.
Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy. Even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.